I'm James Lynch, and this is my stock report for UFC Rio, taking a look at the biggest winners and losers from the event. And this was an easy one on this card. Biggest stock riser on this card, no questions asked, has got to be Charles Oliveira. Dubronk's getting it done. Second round submission victory over Mateusz Gamrot, 2 minutes and 48 seconds into round two. This is a really good win for Oliveira. What was sort of the narrative going into this fight? Was he coming back too soon after that knockout loss to Ilia Topuria? Gamrot's a guy that is tough to finish. He's actually never been finished in the UFC. So not only does Oliveira hold that, in his cap, so to speak, he's also the first guy to submit Mateusz Gamrot. So very impressive victory here. Going into this fight, Gamrot had a very high takedown defense rate. I think it was something like 90%. So for Oliveira to go in there and do that, very impressive. And just, this adds, something interesting to the division because, the UFC likes booking Charles Oliveira. They like putting him in different fights. He's a guy that the UFC does rely on and they like to use when it comes to making big matchups. This opens up a lot of things in the division right now. My first thought when I saw this win was maybe him and Max Holloway can run it back. They did fight at 45 a number of years ago. There was that weird finish in Saskatchewan where Oliveira ended up losing. That's a fight I wouldn't mind seeing at this point as Holloway sort of waits to see what's next for him. Depending on who fights Topuria next, is it going to be Justin Gaethje? Is it going to be Paddy Pimblett? Maybe whoever doesn't get that fight could then fight Oliveira after that. There's a lot of options there for Oliveira going forward now that he does have this win. And again, the UFC always likes booking Oliveira in big fights, so lots of big stuff for him there as far as him getting this win in this main event. I just think the fact that he finished really is good for Oliveira. The fact that he got it done under 3 rounds, so very good win there for Charles Oliveira. Biggest stock riser on this card. Okay, second biggest stock riser on this card. You guys may disagree with me here, but I'm going to explain why I'm going this way, and I'll give a little bit of context. But my second biggest stock riser on this card is Deiveson Figueiredo. Now, he wins a split decision here over Montel Jackson, but he was a huge underdog going into this fight. He was plus 265. A lot of people counting him out in this one. He ends up getting it done. Just the fact that him getting this win means that he is still going to be getting good opponents in the division, right? You beat a Montel Jackson, who was ranked, I believe, although I have to double check that. That helps for sure. And this was supposed to be like a changing of the guard fight, and it didn't end up happening in that way. Figueiredo gets it done. And then when I talk about the context, you look at who Figueiredo's lost to at this point. Corey Sandhagen and Petr Yan, those aren't bad losses. It sure seems like Petr Yan's going to be fighting for the title next. Corey Sandhagen just fought for the title, and there was actually an injury in that fight too. He's already got a win over Chito Vera, Cody Garbrandt. He's got a win over Rob Font, which I know Rob lost his last fight. But my whole thing is with him getting this win, it really does keep him afloat as a contender in this weight class. And I think it's a very good sign for Figueiredo. Now, look, I'm not going to say he's going to, go and get a title shot anytime soon. He's 37. Time is certainly working against him here. But in terms of where he belongs in this division, his stock absolutely goes up because he's basically in a spot where he can continue to get big fights in the weight class. So very big win there for Deiveson Figueiredo. As far as what's next for him, you could look at a couple matchups as far as who's in the division. Actually, let me even have a quick look here as we're looking at the bantamweight division. Apparently, Song Yadong and O'Malley are fighting, although that's not confirmed yet. Maybe he fights the winner of the Marlon Chito Vera and Ayman Zahabi fight that's coming up here next Saturday. That could be an option, but I think there's a few interesting things here for Deiveson Figueiredo. Very big win there in the bantamweight division. If we go look at the stats in this fight too, he does. It's actually Montel Jackson outlanding him, but you look at the rounds. You look at it there. Both had 8 strikes in the first round. And then you look at the leg kicks as well, 10 leg kicks, 9 body shots as well. He ends up getting 2 takedowns as well in that fight too, so that certainly helped the case as well. But you look at it there, he ends up getting, the striking stats were close, but Montel Jackson, this was a prime opportunity for him to, get ahead and, get a big win in his career, and he doesn't end up doing it. And I think this was the right call. Let's actually, we have a second here. Let's go look at the media scorecards if they posted those yet on MMA Decisions. I'm curious if anyone did think Jackson won. I thought Figueiredo won the fight, but let's see what the media says. Yeah, just one media member scoring it for Jackson, the rest scoring it for Deiveson Figueiredo. We had 2 media members scoring it 30-27. The rounds were close, but I could certainly see that. Anyways, long story short, Deiveson Figueiredo, second biggest stock riser on this card. And third biggest stock riser, you might disagree with me on this one too, but it's going to be Joel Alvarez for me. Now, he doesn't get the finish in this fight, but he is moving up a weight class. It certainly seems like this may be his new home going forward. He was minus 600, probably would have liked to get the finish there, but that one round was definitely a 10-8. This is a guy that, again, dominated a ranked welterweight, which is good. I know Luque is not the Luque of old anymore, but the fact that Alvarez can move up and, looked pretty good in that weight class. I think certainly helps his stock because with him getting this win, he's got to be ranked. He just beat a ranked opponent. Those are things I look at when it comes to context. And I think Alvarez, even though he didn't get the finish, I thought performed very well in this fight. So Joel Alvarez, another stock riser here. If we're looking at the welterweight rankings right now, where was Luque ranked? He was ranked near the bottom, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, Luque wasn't ranked. Okay, my bad. For some reason I thought he was. He was ranked at one point. Maybe Joel Alvarez can fight the winner of Kevin Holland and Mike Malott, which is next weekend. You could do that. Maybe he fights Jeff Neal. I mean, imagine Jeff Neal and Joel Alvarez. That would be a friggin' awesome fight. There's a couple options here for Joel Alvarez, but very big win for him there. He gets the third biggest stock riser. And I got to give an honorable mention to Mario Pinto. He gets the win here. Was an underdog against the Neats. He's 10-0, just a slight underdog there at -105. He looked good in this fight, and he gets a second round finish as well. For heavyweight, which is really shallow right now, especially when you're looking at the rankings, Pinto getting this win is actually very big for him. So you could even put him maybe as your number 2 stock riser on your list if you want to. I just think, again, Figueiredo is a guy that sort of needed the win a little bit more. So that's why, to me, I put him ahead. But Pinto, I'll be keeping an eye on him in this division. I was excited with what he did here tonight. Him getting the finish certainly puts him in a good spot in the heavyweight division as he ends up taking out Denitz in a very good fight on the main card. Okay, let's get to our stock droppers. This one's kind of obvious. Montel Jackson, biggest stock dropper on this card. If you look at the odds here, Montel Jackson was a -330 favorite. He was expected to win. He doesn't. I know it was close, right? The fight was close. It wasn't like a total blowout here for Davison. But this is an opportunity I think Montel could have taken advantage of. As far as I know, he got a full camp. He's a younger guy. He's much bigger than him. He's 5'10 compared to 5'5", 75.5 inch reach compared to 68, and he doesn't get it done. I just think, unfortunately, for Montel Jackson at 33, this is what he is. He's a guy that's sort of borderline ranked, bantamweight at this point. This, to me, was an opportunity for him to really propel himself. He had a nice win streak heading into this. You have to go all the way back to 2020, the last time he lost a fight. And I'll admit, the strength of schedule that he had leading into it, not super strong, but this was an opportunity for him to get ahead. So for me, his stock dropped simply for the fact that had he won, he would have been in a great position in the bantamweight division. Now, he's kind of in that lower end of the division. And then honestly, at 33, if you can't beat a Davison Figueiredo, I don't know where he's going to go from here as far as him being a contender in the weight class. So this is a tough loss there for Montel Jackson, but to me, he was the biggest stock dropper on this card. Okay, second biggest stock dropper on this card. I know he took this on short notice, but I didn't see many people not picking Mateusz Gamrot. It's the fact that he gets finished here, though, and the fact that we know the UFC doesn't like Gamrot that much. I always go back to the fact that he was the backup for the Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev fight. They ended up going with Volkanovski at the last minute. It's pretty clear they don't like Gamrot. He's 34 years old. This was a missed opportunity for Gamrot with him losing this fight, and now this is 2 key fights he's lost in the last couple. He loses to Dan Hooker. That was a good opportunity, I think, for him to win that fight and get ahead. He loses to Oliveira. So I think Gamrot at this point, is he the gatekeeper in the division? He might be. I mean, he's probably better than a gatekeeper. I won't, completely say that. And if you look at the stats in this fight, Gamrot actually did outland Oliveira, but it's the fact that he gets finished in the second round. And if we look at the rankings right now at lightweight, I don't think it's a crazy stretch to say he's a gatekeeper. He's kind of in that middle right there, right? So he's beaten some guys, but the last couple fights, if we look at it, he got a nice win over Klein in his last one, but losing to Dan Hooker. Fiziev, I wouldn't mind him and Fiziev running it back because there was an injury in that fight. But to me, it's just like some of these fights are too close for comfort. And he hasn't had like that signature win that really makes me think he can make a run at this. But regardless, that doesn't even matter at this point. The fact that he gets submitted by Oliveira, it definitely puts him behind the 8 ball. So I think Gamrot, going forward, he's going to be the guy they're going to use to build up other fighters, I think, because this to me was an opportunity for him to step in and get a good win. And instead he gets submitted in this fight. So tough loss there for Gamrot, biggest stock dropper, second biggest stock dropper on this card. Third biggest stock dropper, I don't know how much stock he had going in, but he was one of the few favorites that ended up losing on Saturday, and that's Ricardo Ramos. Ends up getting finished in the first round by Ofli. Yeah, that's tough. And, for Ramos, there was so much, not hype, but I think a lot of people had a lot of expectations for him, being in the UFC. And now he's got 7 losses now. There's another key one here. He's only 30 years old, but you look at it now, he's now lost 4 of his last 5. He could get released after this. So just by that alone, Ramos has to be a stock dropper on this card. Again, I didn't think, super high of him sort of going into this fight, but to me, he's fighting a guy who didn't have a single UFC victory. He ends up getting finished this early. Bad look there for Ricardo Ramos. He is a stock dropper as well on this card. So yeah, and then didn't have any honorable mentions here for this. I just had the one honorable mention for the stock risers. So let me know in the comments your 3 biggest stock risers, your 3 biggest stock droppers. Want to hear from you. Again, everyone can kind of do these lists a little bit differently. I explained my reasoning for all my picks here, talk a lot about context and how they performed in the fight, also the betting odds as well. It's another indication how I do sort of my stock report here. But yeah, appreciate this very much. You guys tuning in. Let me know in the comments, like I said, your top 3 stock risers, top three stock droppers, as I'm stumbling over my words here. Hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. I will see you guys on Monday previewing UFC Vancouver. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.